Who was Cleopatra? Why is there still so much buzz about a woman who lived over 2000 years ago? Some say she was a seductive queen who manipulated two powerful men and caused war between them. Others believe she was a brilliant strategist fighting to save her kingdom. So, what is the truth? In this video, we dive deep into her real story, and at the end, we will break down the biggest myths about Cleopatra that are still floating around the internet. Stay till the end to uncover the truth behind the last pharaoh of Egypt, Cleopatra. So let's begin. Around 2000 years ago, there lived Alexander the Great, who conquered half of the world from Europe and Africa to most parts of Asia. After building a great empire, he died at just 32 years old. His empire was handed down to his generals. Generals were the people who led the army and helped make political decisions. One of them was Ptolemy, who was the closest to Alexander because both of them were from Macedonia, Greece. Ptolemy received Egypt and started the Ptolemaic dynasty, which ruled on Egypt for centuries. After 200 years of Ptolemy, a charismatic woman named Cleopatra VII was born into the Ptolemaic dynasty. Although her ancestors were from Greece, she adopted Egyptian ethnicity, language, and culture. She always identified herself as an Egyptian woman. Cleopatra was born in 69 BCE and was known for her high intelligence, political knowledge, and brilliant social attributes. After the death of her father, she was the eldest child alive and the one with strong political intelligence. So she was made Queen of Egypt at the age of 18. But due to the royal tradition of keeping the bloodline pure and dividing power among siblings to avoid conflicts within the family, she was married to her brother Ptolemy XIII, who was just 10 years old. The relation between Cleopatra and Ptolemy XIII was strictly political, and Cleopatra, being politically brilliant and knowing 7 to 9 languages, used to handle the political affairs independently and even made many decisions alone. Showing her power and to prove herself as a queen, not just a consort, she even released coins inscribed with her picture on it. The royal advisors and generals were very pissed with her, as they were not able to control and manipulate her decisions in their favor. So they instigated Ptolemy XIII against his sister. Slowly tension built up in the royal court with constant conflict in decisions and ideas. Some of Ptolemy's supporters even tried to kill Cleopatra and her younger sister Arsinoe, who was in support of Cleopatra. Cleopatra and her sister had to run away from there to save their life. They went to Syria, where they raised an army force and prepared to fight against Ptolemy. At the same time, there was civil war in Rome between Julius Caesar, a well-known, highly regarded general of Rome, and Pompey, who was another general of Rome, son-in-law of Caesar, and married Caesar's daughter Julia. After Julia's death due to childbirth, Caesar and Pompey both fought to get the throne of Rome. Although Pompey had the tremendous army of Rome and Caesar only a small army and some supporters, Caesar defeated Pompey very badly and Pompey had to run for his life. Pompey went to Egypt, where he had previously helped Cleopatra's dad get back his throne years ago when he was exiled. So Pompey expected support from Egypt's king Ptolemy XIII. But Ptolemy and his advisors were very threatened by the power of Caesar. So to impress Julius Caesar, they killed Pompey in Egypt. When Caesar went to Egypt to search for Pompey, he was gifted with Pompey's head, and he got extremely furious because he wanted to negotiate with Pompey to work together. And having initial family ties, he wanted to sort the feud between them. But seeing the political chaos in the Egypt between Ptolemy XIII and Cleopatra, he wanted to utilize the situation and form strong allies with Egypt and intervene into the political situation of Egypt. That night he stayed in the palace of Egypt. He promised to the citizens that he will settle out the royal dispute. Knowing that Caesar was in the palace, Cleopatra made a bold move to regain her throne. She traveled to Egypt in a boat and covered herself with an old carpet. Then secretly, with her one dear servant, she was brought in front of Caesar. There she rolled out of the carpet, fearless, elegant and stunning. Caesar was impressed by her bravery and bold attitude. They talked the whole night, and Cleopatra's confidence, intelligence, and political insight was found relatable and impressive by Caesar. By morning, when Ptolemy arrived to meet Caesar, Caesar and Cleopatra were already lovers. Ptolemy was extremely furious after seeing Cleopatra and Caesar together. He confined both of them in the palace and broke war with Caesar's army. As Caesar's army was small, they got defeated, and Cleopatra and Caesar, they both had to stay in the palace for 6 months. Afterwards, more Roman forces came from Rome to fight against Ptolemy, and they won the war and freed Cleopatra and Caesar. During the war, while trying to escape from Roman army, Ptolemy went towards the Nile River and drowned and died. On the other hand, Cleopatra was declared the Queen of Egypt with the help of Caesar. Caesar and Cleopatra got married and had a child named Caesarion. Cleopatra declared him as her heir, and her husband went to Rome and started ruling there. Later, Caesar brought Cleopatra and his son to Rome, and they started living there. Caesar already had a wife before Cleopatra, and bigamy was strictly prohibited in Rome. So Roman royals and the public were extremely upset with Caesar. Also the senators, people who make political decisions, were very angry with Caesar for breaking the law against polygamy. In addition, Caesar had become extremely powerful in Rome. To reduce his power and regain control, some senators assassinated Caesar in 44 BCE, just 4 years after his marriage to Cleopatra. Cleopatra and her son then fled to Egypt for safety. She continued ruling in Egypt as a queen with her son. On the other hand, in Egypt, Julius Caesar's closest friend Mark Antony, along with his adopted son Octavian and another ally, Lepidus, formed a political alliance. Together they killed the senators who had assassinated Caesar and began to rule Rome as a trio. 3 years later, Cleopatra was summoned back by Mark Antony to answer questions related to Caesar's death and her relationship with his murderers. At that time, Egypt's economy was declining. Cleopatra and Antony decided to meet in Tarsus, modern-day Turkey. When she went to Turkey, she had a strategy to impress Mark Antony. She arrived in a beautiful golden boat with silver covering. She was lying in the boat dressed in rich clothes and jewels like an Egyptian goddess, Isis, and her servants were dressed like cupids, playing soft music and pouring perfumes around. This was so amazing that the entire crowd and Antony was impressed and amazed by her beauty, confidence and style. Then Antony and Cleopatra started dating, and even Antony, being married, decided to marry Cleopatra. He was already married to Octavian's sister, Octavia, so he divorced Octavia to marry Cleopatra. Later, Cleopatra and Mark Antony remained married for 10 years. This angered Octavian, and Antony's and Octavian's relationship started deteriorating. Octavian continuously criticized Antony publicly, and in response to that, Antony once even wrote a letter to Octavian saying, "Why are you upset? Is it because I sleep with Cleopatra? She is my wife, and I have been married to her for 9 years, not just recently. Besides, don't you also enjoy your life? I am sure by the time you read this, you have already been with women like Tortula, Tarantilla, Rufilla, Salvia, Tilisonia, or maybe all of them. So why does it even matter who brings us pleasure?" Octavian was outraged with the reply. Civil war broke between Octavian and Antony, named Battle of Actium in 31 BCE. During the war, Antony's and Cleopatra's force were being defeated by Octavian's force, and when Cleopatra was in Egypt, to protect herself, she hid in a tomb and spread the message that she had taken her own life. This message somehow reached Antony, who was handling forces in Egypt. After hearing the fake news, he got extremely heartbroken and stabbed himself and critically injured himself. Then soon he was informed that Cleopatra was alive. He was immediately carried to Cleopatra, who was hiding in a tall, elevated place inside the tomb. Initially, she refused to open the door to protect herself from Octavian's soldiers. But upon knowing about Antony, she came out, and injured Antony was carried up in tomb with the help of a rope, and both were crying, but Antony died in Cleopatra's arms. Then, after that, Cleopatra again sealed herself in the tomb, and Octavian arrived there. He wanted to take Cleopatra as a trophy to Rome and showcase her in a parade like other war losers and show that he got success against Antony. Cleopatra surrendered herself to save her children and her throne. She wanted to manipulate Octavian like Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, but she understood his intention to humiliate her in Rome. So she stayed in the tomb for 10 to 12 days and secretly took her life. It was believed that she let her snake, an Egyptian cobra, bite and poison her. Before her death, her 2 servants helped her dress in royal clothes and jewelry and managed a golden couch in her tomb. They too managed the poison. When Octavian arrived at the tomb, her 2 servants were dying beside her. Her 1 servant even said in honor, "A fine deed as befits the descendant of so many kings," meaning she died bravely and with dignity, just like a royal woman should. It was a final moment of respect and pride for Cleopatra. Even though she died, she did it on her own terms, with the grace and courage of a queen. Octavian, showing his Roman dignity, allowed Antony and Cleopatra to be buried together as Cleopatra had always wanted. Also, he killed the children of Cleopatra from Caesar, and her children from Antony were brought to Rome, and they were raised by Octavian. Octavian ruled over Rome as King Augustus and even merged Egypt with Rome. When Cleopatra died, she was just 39 years old, and she had ruled Egypt for 22 years, managing the finances and political system tarnished by her ancestors. Although throughout her life she was known for alluring men, her design was bold. She was a strategic and clever woman who worked hard to maintain harmony in her land and prosperity in her kingdom. She formed bonds with 2 of the most powerful men because of her charming personality and political intelligence. We talk about her relations with those men when she was single and miserable. But Caesar and Antony too had multiple partners in their life. But people love to blame women, and even the Hollywood movies showcased her as a seductive woman who ruled on the soldier of men. But she herself was handling her kingdom with great balance before she met any man. Furthermore, history was highly manipulated by Romans to disgrace and tarnish her reputation. But she was just a brave woman born in the world of men. Afterwards, the landscape of Alexandria, Egypt was changed drastically. So her tomb got lost. After years of research too, nobody could find her tomb. But now a team of archaeologists led by Dr. Kathleen Martinez found a massive 1305-meter long tunnel in Temple of Tepusiri Magna, which is a holy place near Alexandria, Egypt, with uncovered Cleopatra's coins, pottery, statue, and burial items from Ptolemaic period, and it is believed that further research will help her find the tomb. But still the tomb of Cleopatra and Antony is yet to be discovered. Also, nowadays we hear a line which says Cleopatra said, "No man will ever find my tomb." But it is not told by Cleopatra. There is no historical proof that she told this. Even her body was buried by her enemy, Octavian, and his servants who were men. They knew where her tomb was. Further, this line is a modern invention, likely created by writers or archaeologists to emphasize the mystery of her missing tomb. It is often used symbolically to represent Cleopatra's desire to control her legacy and vanish from Roman shame. Like and subscribe for more videos like this on Saga of Lives.